Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Tiffanie Vendryes. We help women travel, build wealth, and live richer. So today we're super excited. We have Dr. Afia that's coming on to talk to us. So I'm going to bring her on right now. Hi.
Hello.
So
Hello. How are you?
I am good. If you want to just start with introducing yourself.
I'm Dr. Afia. I am a Black Studies PhD. I was a professor and then turned into a travel content creator. And I am so excited to share things on my channel that help Black people and specifically Black women have access to travel and encourage them to buy Black.
Yes. So one of the questions I had come up as I was talking with some of my followers is what is the difference between Black studies or African American studies? Or can you just talk to us a little bit about what you studied?
Yeah, so we actually call my discipline Africology, which is a term that my mentor, Dr. Malefe Asante, who is one of the founders, coined. But it's just the study of Black people and their cultures across the diaspora. And so for some people, that's Africana studies, which the Africana denotes African and the diaspora. It originated out of San Francisco State, where they called it Black Studies during the 70s, because politically that was the term that we went by. So some people have different terms, but at the root, we are here to learn and study about Black people for the liberation of Black people. And so that goes through many different disciplines. Some folks are coming at from a psychologist, economist, literature, all of these different disciplines. So it is a multidiscipline.
Okay. All right. And then so that was good. What why should Black women travel?
Woo. Um, Black women, I think, have to travel. It's such a rewarding and transformative experience. And I think that one of the only reasons why we don't is because of access. And so that's a barrier that many people are working in digital spaces to remove. And this is what my dissertation was about how we can use digital resources to help us have access to either learning the lessons of travel from other people's experiences and then learning how to travel for ourselves. So yeah, it's transformative and it's how we connect with each other.
Okay. So what are some of the countries Black women should visit and why?
Mm. So I think that whenever I'm asked this question, people usually are like, "What's your favorite country?" or "Where should I start?" My answer is always Ghana. That was what really awakened my love of travel. I did a study abroad during my master's program. And so I went there with a group of graduate students, and we studied with the University of Ghana in Legon, but explored so much of the country during that semester and really had an opportunity to dive deep and learn the language, the culture, and then just form meaningful relationships and connections with other people. And because Ghana is such a peaceful country, because they're so open and welcoming to African Americans, I always recommend that people start there when they're ready specifically to explore the diaspora. But for some folks, it's easier to just sort of start locally, start domestically, and then maybe go to the Caribbean and then, travel across to the other side of the world. So it just depends on your comfort zone.
Okay. So it may be Ghana, but which country have you felt the most at home?
Yeah, definitely Ghana. I think it was just being there. For me, one of the things that I always talk about, that was my huge takeaway from there, was having this feeling of not being a minority for the first time in my life. And I had
Mhm.
never even thought about it or considered it. Like, I wasn't going there looking for that. But once I was there and I looked around and I'm like, this is what white people feel like all the time.
Hmm.
And there's just something about being surrounded by people that look like you that releases stress and anxiety, that has you stop second guessing whether somebody's being rude to you because they're just a terrible person or because they're a racist. And
Right.
so I think that that feeling, I've been to Ghana 7 times now, and
Oh.
it's always just really, as soon as I land, like I get this feeling of like, and yeah, that's what I love about it.
So where else have you been in? Like, what are some of the 40 countries you've been to?
So predominantly I travel to Black and Brown countries. That's always my priority. So
Hmm.
I've been to several countries on the African continent, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Morocco, South Africa. I also travel a lot through the Caribbean. Haiti is one of my absolute favorites over there, even though it's not particularly safe right now. I had such a wonderful time. It's definitely one of my top countries. I'll be heading to Egypt later this month and bringing a group with me. So those are always the places that I'm most excited about. But I go other places as well, but I'm always looking for how to connect with us. So I'll be heading to Paris for the first time and really excited about finding the diasporic community there. There
While
we
you
go.
while you were gone, I was trying to put your Instagram in the chat. So you're Dr. Afia underscore abroad.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
And it's the same on TikTok, just without the dot and the underscore, just Dr. Afia Abroad on TikTok.
Okay, TikTok, you're at Dr. Afia abroad with no
Mhm.
period or underscore.
Yep.
All right, put that in there. Okay, so you were saying I was asking you about the going to Ghana and the dollar versus the currency they have there. So how easy is it to, I guess, get housing there or to eat there compared to the dollar here?
So what's really interesting is that over the years that I've traveled, it has fluctuated quite a
Mhm,
bit.
mhm.
So when I first started going, I think it was like 4 to 1. Then that changed and went up to like 8 to 1 conversion rate. And so things are always, I've always found them to be relatively inexpensive, and a
Mhm,
place that you can get a lot. However, following the year of the return, prices have shot up a lot. And so the economy there is experiencing some challenges where the influx of foreigners has triggered some inflation. And so things aren't as affordable as it used to be, but for Americans, it still is. And so this is one of the things that I always think about, like as I'm traveling, is, how do I do this in a way that is conscious and equitable. And so I think that that's something that we always have to keep in mind as we're traveling and looking for ways to make sure that we are supporting local and that we are trying to do as little harm as we can.
mhm. Okay, and then so Ghana, do they have Airbnbs or is it hotels for long-term stays?
Yeah, there's Airbnbs, there's Uber that, really makes it easy to get around. There's taxis, there's trotros that are quite an adventure that I would only attempt with a local, but
Okay.
it's very easy to get around. I've traveled all over. It's pretty easy to get a bus and go to other parts of the country as well. So I've traveled outside of Accra, the main city, and gone to Kumasi, to the Volta region where the lake is, and done like a beautiful river cruise as well. So I think that it's been pretty easy to get around. Also, with the language being English, that makes it a lot easier to navigate as opposed to countries like Senegal that I really enjoyed, but it was definitely a little bit of a barrier there with them being francophone.
Okay, so would you consider moving abroad? And if so, I guess where?
Yeah, I have definitely considered it ever since I started going over there. And so at this point, I think that it might be a retirement dream. I have a lot of folks that think about doing that. I'm ready to be a digital nomad and do it a lot sooner than that. As soon as I can figure out some things here. But I think that Ghana would definitely be high on my list, as well as places like Colombia. I went there recently, and there's a thriving expat community there. So those are some of the places that I would start with, and then just sort of explore options from there.
Okay. And then so you mentioned that you did an adult gap year. So what is an adult gap year?
So basically, just taking a year off as an adult, pausing or stopping your work and taking time, just like people do in between, high school and college when they want to just backpack and travel around and find themselves. I realized that I had been working two jobs continuously or more from the time that I was 16. And at that point, it was just after the pandemic, and I had an opportunity to make some extra income because I wasn't going anywhere, I wasn't doing anything, so I was just working a lot. And so I saved that money up, and I decided that I was going to take a year and travel and explore and learn more about myself and then go from there.
And where did you go during the adult gap year?
So I went to Haiti during that time, and just had such a beautiful time. I went with a group called Haitian Nomad that really helped to facilitate that experience, and the group was mostly Haitian Americans. And so the food, the nightlife, the history, the nature, there was just so many things that I really enjoyed about that. I also went to Senegal as well, as I mentioned before. And that was just such a wonderful trip. I was able to connect with people throughout the diaspora, friends from Philly that now live in Senegal. I
Ooh.
got to go to the Gambia while I was there as well. And there's just so many amazing experiences that I was able to have during that time.
So what was the long or the average time you spent in each place? Was it like a month
I think So I didn't spend, well, I went twice actually. So it ended up being about a month total in Senegal. It was about a week in Haiti. And then I spent a few days in the Gambia as well. Um, so I was really just sort of looking to explore different places and really meet people and make connections. I did a few domestic trips during that time period as well.
ago?
And so really I was trying to relax, but also sort of get to go all the places that I wasn't able to go to during the pandemic.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have a group trip coming up to Egypt. So tell us
Mhm.
about your group travels.
So this is the first time that I'm leading a group trip. I've been part of
Okay.
group trips in the past, and so I've always really just enjoyed the experience of not having to plan anything,
Mhm.
and just be able to, let somebody else handle that and go. I've had varied experiences with group travel, from one being like absolutely terrible, one
Uh-huh.
being good, and like one being phenomenal. So I just sort of saw, how that can go. And since I've been traveling, folks have always been, saying, "Oh, take me with you. Take when are we gonna, be able to go with you and have this experience?" And so I partnered with a company that handles logistics. And so they'll be taking care of all of the planning and transportation and things. But I've selected the itinerary and get to take people around and also sort of share some of the things that I learned because my dissertation work was around Egypt, which is where we're going, and looking at the Black travel movement in the 70s and 80s when people really started doing these large group trips together as a community to learn more about their history and their culture.
Okay, so if someone's interested in that, they can reach you here, Instagram, Dr. Afia Abroad, or TikTok. That's your TikTok there.
Hmm.
Okay, so where do you think you're going to go next after Egypt for a group
So
trip?
I am, yeah, so I'm hoping to go to Colombia. I had one um opportunity that wasn't really aligning because I really want to keep my trips affordable. And so the partner wasn't able to get the price down, but I'm hoping to work with some other companies and be able to make sure that it is something that's affordable
Mhm.
for us. But I went earlier this year to Medellin and had a beautiful time. A lot of times when people go to Colombia, especially Black people, they go to Cartagena. That's,
Mhm.
where the Black culture is. But there is a group in Medellin that is being intentional about exploring the culture there, the Black culture there, and sharing it. And so I was able to go to a Black Joy Parade and festival that's by Origin and Culture. And it was just amazing. I went on the first ever Black History tour of the city and just was able to connect with so many people and learn so much about the Black history and culture in that city. So I would love to be able to um, bring people back to experience that, and then I need to get to Cartagena also, so I need to go back and do that.
I've been to Cartagena a couple of times, and it's a smaller city, so then it feels very like manageable and safe and easy to navigate. It's very close to the airport. There's like a little downtown area where it's the walled city, which used to be like the old Spanish fort. So it's very nice, and the food's great, drinks are great. So that I liked. But Medellin, I haven't been to, and so definitely let us know when you're doing that group trip.
I definitely will.
Okay, so what are I know you're involved or you attend the Black Travel Summits. So what are they, and what can someone benefit by attending them?
Yeah, so I think there are three events that are sort of on my horizon now. Nomadness has a travel festival, and so I went to that one in September. And that's just a really great group, I think, to join even online and digitally. That's the group that helped launch my travels. That's how I learned how to travel and still use them as a support network. So anytime I'm anywhere around the world, I can reach out to somebody and say, like, hey, who's in this place at this date and wants to meet up? And so that's been absolutely wonderful. Their travel conference goes to different cities, and it really has a broad range of panels and activities, from talking about travel hacking and like how to use points and miles to travel, to talking specifically about things that relate to content creation and media and blogging and travel, talking about conscious travel. So just really a broad range of things. The other one, the Black Travel Summit, that's coming up in Fort Lauderdale, is focused specifically, I think, more towards people who are in the travel industry. So
Okay.
whether you have a travel app, or you're a travel content creator or travel writer, if you're in the hotel industry and group trips and tourism, in some way, it's a place for people to really come together, connect with each other, network, and then learn from some of the leaders in the industry. And then the final one is the Black Travel Expo, which I haven't been to yet. I learned about that one this year, and I believe they postponed it because it was supposed to be last month in Atlanta, and that's when the hurricane hit. So it's been postponed, and I don't believe the new dates have been announced yet.
Okay. And So you also focus on Black owned and buying Black. So what kind
Mhm.
of impact does it have when the Black community buys Black goods and services?
Oh, it's crucial. Absolutely a necessity, especially I think in this climate with everything that has been going on recently. It becomes even more important. What
Mhm.
we see is that, we hear all this talk about the black dollar and how it circulates and how quickly it leaves our community.
Yeah,
And that's not the case in other communities. And so
right.
we are the ones that have to support us, and it becomes important to be very mindful of that and doing it intentionally. Historically, we were insulated. We were in communities where that's what was around us. We were, during Jim Crow, restricted from patronizing other businesses sometimes. And so that really helped to focus things. Now that those restrictions have eased, um, some of us, I'm going to say some of us, not all of us, have, sort of been really excited at the idea of, having access to all of these other businesses and other communities. And it's so important that we bring the focus back and are very intentional. And I will say that a lot of us are. So, despite some of the things that I hear about, well, Black people don't support, we do. We do. There more of us could and should. But my platform, specifically is a beautiful demonstration of that. I
Mhm.
share Black owned businesses all the time, and business owners are constantly, sharing how the community has helped to build them up and how the community is what sustains them and how important that is. So I'm just always, encouraging people to find ways to support, and then to support in the correct way as well.
So how do people find like Black owned businesses, like a Black owned car dealership, or a Black owned clothing store, or a Black owned mortgage broker, or realtors are pretty easy to find, but how do you
Mhm.
find these other businesses where you may not know exactly who owns the business?
Yeah. So there's so many resources out there. This is why I love the digital age. And so there are, platforms like mine that are sharing. There are a ton of others, Buy Black 365, the Black Information Network, the what was I just met this lady on Instagram. I'm trying to remember her handle, that specifically looks at companies that people thought were black, and she does the
Mhm.
research to find, I believe it's Hood Network TV. I believe that's the name of it, but I have to verify that. But the internet is our friend.
Okay.
There are directories that you can look up by the city that you live in. There are networks and things that are built, and guides that are put up specifically to say, hey, I've done the work of finding the black owned whatever, and here it is. I do want to show you this. This book right here is amazing. It's called Support Black Period. And for travel, this, like, it it's a whole entire guide. One of my friends, Princess Francois, wrote this, and it is called A Green Book to Eliminate Your Ifs, Ands, and Buts. It has a whole list of black owned everything when you're traveling, from hotels, tours, places to visit, restaurants, wineries, and it's organized by city, state. So when you're traveling, this is such a great resource, and it links to online resources as well. There's QR codes throughout it.
Oh,
But she also has a framework that's included in here that tells people, these are the best ways to support these businesses. So it's not just about, going to it, but are you leaving reviews on Google that are going to help amplify that business? Are you going in and understanding how Black businesses operate and work, and the fact that 95% of them are solopreneurs, so they don't have a team? Are you giving grace? Are you making sure that you share your negative experiences privately first, and give people a chance to grow and learn from that before you just blast them? Are you, when you have a great experience, are you sharing that publicly? Are you talking about it with your friends and your family and on your timeline? And so just thinking about, and then she shares like household items, band-aids, detergent, all of those things, and like where to find the Black owned companies. So I think that just it's just resources like this that continue the work of Victor Hugo and the Green Book. That's going to be the way to find these businesses and then support them.
Oh, that's great. I did not know that still existed. I knew it existed before we
Mhm.
couldn't go everywhere, but I did not know that was still something that you should show it again. Let me see this book.
Oh, yes. And there's another one too, called the ABC Travel Green Book, that is great. But this one is just so detailed. Like I said before, there are restaurants, businesses, Black heritage tours, museums, all sorts of things that are included in here. So whether you're traveling or if you're just looking up your own home area, it's such a great resource.
Awesome. So, what do you think about the Black community being the least invested in the stock market, but also being one of the top consumers within certain industries like the beauty industry or the hair industry?
I think that it's very unfortunate. I think that it comes out of a lack of financial literacy. We haven't we haven't been taught a lot of the things that other people have taught. So we have to be intentional about going out and seeking that information and filling in those gaps ourselves. We understand the way that the wealth gap looks in America in particular, but globally. And what that leads to is not only us not having that generational wealth, but also not having that generational financial education that's passed down to each generation. So I know that my parents didn't invest in the stock market. My
Mhm.
grandmother did later in her life. She learned because she was given stock in the company that she worked in. And
Okay.
so she shared some of what she knew. But it's something that for many people, they aren't taught what it is, how to do it, and then, how to sort of grow from that. And additionally, because of some of the ways that we've experienced dishonesty from banks and from programs and from things like that, Black people tend to have a lack of trust when it comes to their money as well. And so, when we saw our grandmothers, putting the cash under the mattress and having the little jar in the closet, those are the things that we tend to do now. So we tend, when we have extra money, to try to save rather than invest. And it's really important for us to learn more about how to invest properly in order to achieve financial independence.
Right. So if anybody has any questions for Dr. Afia, be sure to put that in the chat here. It is very important that the Black community learns about financial independence and learns about FIRE, financial independence, retirement early, being able to save the American dollar and move to places like Ghana or Colombia or Panama, where you can have a better quality of life, not just economically, but socially as well. I think these things are very important for us to publicize on platforms like YouTube and other social media, Instagram, TikTok, because people haven't heard these stories. They don't know that people are moving to Ghana, moving to Senegal, moving to Colombia, moving to Mexico, and having a happier and better quality of life. And so it's very important that we get this message out there. So, where's your
Absolutely.
next trip?
So Egypt is next. I'm going to be going there at the end of the month. I'm also going to, once my group trip is over, I'm going to head to Aswan and do a little side trip there. That's where the Nubian village is. So I'm very excited about that. And then I'll be going to Jordan as well and getting to check out one of the wonders of the world there. So I'm super excited.
Very nice. So did you have anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't get to?
I think just my website as another way to connect with me. And so that's www.drafiaabroad.com. And so it's a great way to keep up with what I'm sharing and what's going on, also for business owners to connect with me. I also work with content creators and business owners on their digital media marketing strategy. And so for folks that, are seeking to learn about, how do I grow my audience? How do I get more engagement? What are some of the things that I need to focus on in building my platform and then, being able to turn clients and followers into customers. So those are some of the things that I do as well. And that's the best way to contact me. And then I share all of the fun events and things like that that I come across. And so I'll be having a newsletter that's going out soon, and just a way to build and to connect. So
How do you find all, because I do follow you on Instagram and I see the wine tours, and they're black owned wine tours. How do you find, is it from the book? How do you find those things?
say that one more time.
I said, how do you find the things that you post on your Instagram?
Mm. So I think that because I do so many amazing things, I have a great algorithm. So a lot of them come up because, that's curated. And also, people send me things. Once I started sharing what I was doing, and, you know, folks started seeing, oh my God, that's so fun. Like, I want to go and do these things. And then the event organizers started reaching out to me and working with me to help promote their events. So we just had a flannel fest here in Philly. I posted that reel a week before it happened and sold like 300 tickets to that event. We had the Black Wine Fest before. So those are some of the ways that I, work with business owners and event organizers to help amplify what it is that we're doing, what it is, that's going on, so that folks can find them because they're looking for these things. They want to support. It just doesn't
Right.
always come across their timeline. And so they know, that they can find that on my page. And then I also connect them, making sure that they're following the folks that, the business owners and things like that. So it's just amazing going to a lot of these events and then seeing not only the fun that we have there, but the way that we're able to build community and to network, and to continue growing together from there.
Okay, good. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, they can find you on your website and also Instagram. Thank you for coming to talk to us about traveling and why, some of the reasons why Black women should travel, talking about buying Black owned. And it has been a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Okay.